Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast, where we explore your hidden thoughts and desires, revealing your greatest drop the mic moments. Now, here's your host, Art Costello.
Welcome to the Shower Epiphanies podcast. Today, my guest is Kim Julen, founder of Finding Your Fiji. As a Feng Shui expert and psychic, Kim is a certified Feng Shui practitioner, an IFSG Red Ribbon practitioner, a certified angel card reader. Angels and homes talk to her, and they always have helpful information to share, which I love. In 2017, Kim moved from Minnesota to Maui, sight unseen, which I love, to make her dream life a reality. Through her private coaching, Feng Shui consultations, and angel readings, Kim brings harmony to your head, heart, and home. She is passionate about helping you find your Fiji, whatever that may be for you. Welcome, Kim, to the show. I can't wait to talk to you.
Thank you. I'm so excited. Your story is so inspiring to me. And I just love the whole essence of having epiphanies in the shower. It's awesome.
I always tell people that epiphanies are just thoughts, but most people think of them as these big booms that happen and you get these big things. But really, epiphanies happen all the time in our heads. And they're just a precursor to our expectations. So if we don't act upon them and they just sit in our head, brings me to, I want to know your story because I'm really interested in how you left Minnesota, went to Maui, one of the most beautiful places in the world, and how your journey started.
Yeah, it has been quite the journey. So I've been here almost 2 years now. In May, it will be 2 years. And it happened very, very fast. So it's one of those things like when you open up and allow yourself to surrender, that just things sort of fall into place. And so what happened for me is I'd had a sense for a long time that I was not meant to stay in Minnesota. Kind of on a practical matter, I don't love winter. So that's part of it. But also just I felt a calling to go somewhere else, to be somewhere else. And I wasn't sure where that was. And so I was just paying attention to the signs. And I kept getting indications that it was Maui, that Maui was where I was meant to be. And I was like, oh man, this is a big deal. Like selling my house, selling everything, basically moving away from everyone to a place that I had never even visited. I'd been to some of the other Hawaiian islands, but never to Maui. And so what ended up happening, I was getting all these signs, and finally I was like, okay, I'm very connected spiritually wise. Like I like to connect in, I like to ask for signs, I like to ask for help because I need all the help I can get. And so I asked my angels and guides, I said, if I'm meant to do this, please send me a really clear sign, something that I cannot mistake. And so the very next day I got a package in the mail. I was in the process of a Secret Santa sister exchange is what it was. So it actually came from someone I did not know. And to this day, I still don't know who sent it to me. I'm kind of hoping someone will see one of these broadcasts and say, hey, that was me. But it was anonymous. And so I get this package and I open the package up and the gifts were kind of in the bottom and they were cushioned by a couple handle bags. And one of the bags, the first bag that I pulled out actually was like a turquoise blue, and it said Maui Divers Jewelry on it. So talk about hit you over the head. I'm like, okay, there's my sign. Like that is what I needed to just do it and just start leaning in.
The need to have closure in any given situation is sheer human nature. And when it comes to romantic relationships, this desire skyrockets. Has your previously failed relationship left you in immense pain? It's not uncommon for people to shy away from a new relationship after their first one fails miserably. The fear of the unknown makes them hide in a shell to prevent any future heartbreak. Relatable? Despite wanting to love and be loved, you can't take the plunge if your mind and heart are still locked somewhere in the past. Maybe you aren't aware of the power of releasing the past, or perhaps you don't know how to do it. Art Costello in his online course teaches the art of moving on from bad places to happier, more stable ones. This course can change your life for good, helping you beat all kinds of negativity on the road to eternal bliss. Sign up now before the gloominess gets the better of you at expectationacademy.com.
How did that work for you? I mean, people, in their heads a lot of times say, let's just do it. But it takes something a little deeper. And I think it's faith, because you cannot move sight unseen from Minnesota to Maui on a whim. You have to have a lot of faith in it. It may be a whim that you do it, but there's a faith in it that everything is going to be okay.
Yes. It's so funny because I get truth bumps, or we call them chicken skin here in Hawaii, whenever, someone says something that's just so right and true. And you're right. You hit it right on the head. That's it. Like, faith is a huge part of it, because I needed to trust that I was going to be taken care of. I needed to trust that everything was going to be okay. Because honestly, I didn't have the money to move. I didn't have, people say, oh, you should have like a whole bunch of money when you move to Maui because it's expensive and trying to find housing and all that kind of stuff. And I did not have that at the time. I ended up using the money that I got from selling my house in order to, to make the move. But what I see it as more of as a leaning in. So it's not like, because if I would have thought about all the things that had to happen in order for me to move here, just even selling my house alone, like there's clear out like a 4-bedroom house that I've been living in, and my kids' stuff and all kinds of, I actually had one of my kids was living with me at the time. He did have another place to go immediately, but I was like kind of kicking him out of the nest. And yeah, so leaning into me is just taking one action at a time. So basically, I got the guidance to call my friend who is a realtor and, have her come and see what I could get for my house. That was like one of the first steps. Little did I know that I, less than a month later, would have my house on the market. Right? So yeah, and it just, things happen super fast that way.
Yeah, I write a lot about expecting the unexpected. How do you expect the unexpected? And it's really in preparation. It's just preparing your mind for things unseen. I learned it in Vietnam because we never knew from moment to moment what was coming next, what was going to happen. So you have to develop this sense of expecting the unexpected. And a lot of people don't think about it, but when you do think about it and you start your mindfulness and preparing your mind to expect the unexpected, you really learn how to adjust to things. Do you think that played a part in? Did you have that sense about you?
Yeah, part of it for me is like maybe a little bit of a shift on that, about expecting that everything is always going to work out. So for me, it's kind of like, because I think sometimes expecting the unexpected can also be about like expecting, what they say, be prepared for the worst or whatever. I'm all about like being in the space of like everything is happening for me. And everything is lining up for me. I'm being taken care of. Even when on the surface, it might feel like I had to find a place. I found a place to land when I first arrived here. And that was all kind of serendipitous too on how I found that place. But I had that place for about a month. And then I was able to find another place for about 8 months. But it turned out that I had to find a new place like in January, which is prime season here. Like prime vacation time. And so many different people that I talked to said, oh my gosh, you're looking for a place in January, like good luck. But I was like not going to buy into that. And I just said, no, I'm always able to find places to live easily and effortlessly. I'm going to find the perfect home. It's going to be amazing. And I've been now in this place for over a year and I'm renting, but I love it. And it just everything lined up. In fact, to the day. So my other lease was like ending like an odd day, like January 7th or something. And this place was available on January 6th.
I'm glad that you reminded me that we think differently than other people. Because when you said that you think in the positive, I too. I mean, for a negative to come into my head is really rare. But when I think about expecting and preparing for things, it's always in the positive. It's never in the negative. And you just reminded me of that when you said that, because I forget that other people don't think like us. And that's what I'm trying to do in educating people about their expectations, is change their mindset about it to think in the positive instead of the negative. So how does Feng Shui play into that?
Yeah, so feng shui is really kind of, to simplify it, it's a way to create an environment that energetically supports the things that you want to bring into your life. So it's kind of creating this beautiful container. And what I've seen happen is it really speeds up the law of attraction. So the things that you want to be, to do, to have, when you make simple changes in your home, it helps those things flow to you more quickly.
Yeah, I've seen some things where people say that coming into your house a certain way affects it and all kinds of things. I've always found it interesting because I believe that there's energy in everything.
Yes.
And energy is what really drives us. And, I don't know how much you know about my story, but when I was 9 years old, I went to a hilltop and laid on my back because I was feeling abandoned and trying to figure out where my life was going to go and happen. And when I went to Harvard to speak, an astrophysicist told me that when I was 9 years old and put out that energy, that it's played full course in my life. And here it is, almost 68 years later. Now I'm 71. So how many ever years it is, it's finally returned to me full circle. And he said, I've never met anyone who has lived it full circle like you have.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
it did. It brought goosebumps to me,
Yeah, and I'm getting them now too. Yes.
And I had never, I just had never, ever thought about stuff like that. And now I just believe that the world does operate on energy, and the energy we put out comes back to us through the law of attraction. And of course, we all know people that are negative and they just remain negative because they keep running that negative energy. So
yes.
Everybody get out of the negative, get into the positive.
Well, and two, kind of going back to that expectation, like watch what you're expecting. So it can be something as simple as saying that there's like so many deer around and that, oh my gosh, there's like, this is a big thing in Minnesota because at certain times of the year, the deer are running on the highways and running on the roads and things like that. And certain neighborhoods have a lot of deer. And so people say, oh my gosh, there's so many deer. Watch out for the deer. Be careful you don't hit a deer, like all that kind of stuff. And, what often happens then is they draw in that very thing because they're so like focused on avoiding it, but the universe doesn't hear that don't, not, or no. Mm-hmm. So they're like, you have to like catch yourself. And that's the thing. I would say that I do still have negative thoughts, but I typically will catch myself and just say, cancel. Like, no, I don't want that. What is it that I do want? So when something comes in and I'm like thinking about something and I like, maybe get anxious or whatever about something, I'll stop and I'll just be like, okay, I don't want that. What is it that I do want? And then putting that out there.
Yeah, and that's really a great way to live. I mean, because you cannot not be anxious at some point in your life, and we all experience it. And what I've always preached to people, it's how you manage all those things, the anxiety, the fear, because fear paralyzes, and there's so many people that are paralyzed and don't do what they want to be doing because of that.
Yes.
I know that you're into angel readings also.
Yes. Yeah. So I have a super strong connection with the angels. Archangels are, I work with a lot of the archangels, and I've had a strong connection with them since I was a little girl. But kind of how that goes is, people don't believe you. And so you kind of like push it aside, or I just didn't reopen to it really until about 2012. And then I kind of reopened to that. And I like to jokingly say that they haven't shut up since, right? Like they're always talking to me. Yeah. And that's kind of an interesting story too, actually. I was speaking of energy and vibrations. I went to a Wayne Dyer event. I'm guessing you're familiar with Wayne Dyer. And Abraham Hicks. So Esther Hicks was on stage with Wayne Dyer, first time and only time they had ever been. And my girlfriend had said, I think we need to go to this. And so I was like, okay, yeah, let's do it. We didn't have a lot of time. So we basically, flew in, stayed overnight, and flew out the next day. And it would happen to be in California. And the energy in the space, just with Wayne Dyer and Abraham and everything that they bring, was so high. And at that time, like I wasn't in the place where I am now. I literally had trouble staying awake. Like it was such a high vibration that I was like, it wasn't jet lag. It was just energy. And so the very next day, my girlfriend was still sleeping, and I woke up and I went out with my journal onto our little patio or whatever at our hotel. And all of a sudden, it was like everything was clear. I could hear my angels and guides like completely clearly. And they were talking to me, telling me I was going to be channeling and I was going to be doing this work. And I'm crying, saying, no, find somebody else. Like just, it was very emotional. But again, it got me to that state of like where I could be open. And then since then, they're just guiding me on how to open more for, more and more each time. And it's actually, the angel stuff is the easiest thing that I do, I feel like, because I don't have to do anything. I just have to relay information.
Tell me a little bit about your childhood. I'm very interested in where you grew up, how you grew up, and what influencers you had in your life, because I see you almost like a flower. Like I can just see you growing and then just blossoming into this beautiful woman that you've become. And
yeah. My childhood was, by all standards, great. Like I grew up in a big family, youngest of 6, very Catholic. So went through Catholic grade school, Catholic high school, Catholic college, all of that. And I think that's where like I got introduced to the angels when I was young, through religion. But the thing about it was I am empathic. And I did not know that growing up. So actually growing up was difficult for me because being an empath, you feel other people's emotions. And oftentimes it feels like they're your own because they're so real. And so you would get like, if I was around somebody that was, depressed or angry or different things, like I would take that in and I was very social, but I also needed that time to like myself to like be away from people. And I didn't understand then why that was. Now I get it. Like now I understand the empathy, and I'm able to also clear and get when I'm picking up something from someone else. But also was difficult because I had kind of a big mouth. I would really be vocal when I could feel or sense something about someone, I would say it. It didn't always work out super well. In fact, I lost all of my friends in 7th grade, and I think that's part of it because of me being vocal about something that I was sensing or feeling. Yeah. And just, it's an interesting thing growing up that way. But you learn to cope, and part of it is you kind of put a shield up around yourself. So I had that for a long, long time.
Has anyone ever inspired you to discover a happier, healthier, and more fulfilled you? It is a magical experience, isn't it? Inspiration is indeed very powerful, yet it's often undermined. It can lift you from the ground to the sky in no time. Have you ever thought about returning the favor by inspiring the people around you? If you don't think you have it in you, we have good news for you. Art Costello's online course has everything you need to learn to supercharge yourself and shape your character into a powerful personality. Get ready to discover your strengths and unleash the creativity within. Don't believe it? Check it out yourself by signing up for this life-changing course at expectationacademy.com. That's expectationacademy.com.
let me ask you a question. I'm asked quite often if I'm an empath, and I always say no. And I say that because I really don't feel what other people feel. But what resonated with me is when you said that you confuse that with your own feelings. And, I feel, anybody who's watched my homepage on website and watched my video on there and seen me cry the way I do, I'm very, very sensitive about things. And, I think people confuse that with being an empath, because I'm not afraid to show my emotions. I show them anywhere. I can be watching a Budweiser commercial and cry. It's just the way I am. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I actually feel like we're all empathic to some degree, that we all have that. It's kind of another sense or another, we talk about the 5 senses. There's a lot more senses than just the 5. So I feel like it's another sense actually that we have. And I think it's something that helps people like you and I really connect with people. because we actually are like, we can sense and we can feel that compassion for what they're feeling because we do feel it. Like it does like touch us, right? So I think that is part of being empathic, is that, emotions or different things that happen do touch us very deeply.
Yeah, when I was in Vietnam, it was a little difficult for me because, doing some of the stuff that we did and being in the Marines and all that kind of stuff, I took so much of it to heart. And, I shed a lot of tears. And of course, in 1965, men were not supposed to cry, and we weren't supposed to do that. But I never held back on it. Everybody would look at me like, oh, there he goes again,
But you know what? It's a release. Tears are such a good release. It's so good to do that and to actually feel your feelings. Like there's so many people that don't want to feel their feelings, so they'll do whatever they can not to feel them. And it's actually so much better to feel them and actually allow yourself to have that. So good for you. I mean, like, that's awesome. Good for you. We should all be doing that.
I often, if I'm talking to vets and stuff, I'll often say my way of releasing was through tears. I mean, my way of releasing all the stress and all all that was through the tears. But, so I guess it was healthy. I never looked at it as not being healthy. I just, at the time, it was difficult to have, guys make fun of you, and they see it as a weakness.
Yeah.
And, they soon learned that it wasn't a weakness.
It's actually a strength.
It's really
actually a strength because, I think what happens for a lot of people is when they don't feel their emotions, they get bottled up and then they're going to come out somehow, some way, right? Or something will be brought into your life so that you actually do have to feel it.
Yeah. And through the Feng Shui and angel readings and that stuff, do you bring that out in people? Do you actually teach people? Do they come to you already believing, or do they come to you doubtful sometimes and then you educate them and enlighten them?
Yeah, it's interesting because most of the people that I work with are pretty open already. And those are the type of people that I tend to attract, is people that are really open. They understand that everything is energy. They understand on some level that the stuff in their homes is impacting them. But I think what happens for a lot of people is they don't necessarily know how to deal with the emotions. Because even like clearing clutter in your home is, emotional process, because you have an attachment or an energy to the stuff. And so when you're releasing, it's also helping release stuff within you. So there is a very much emotional thing to that aspect of it. And that's actually one thing that I do work with my clients, mainly in my private coaching, where we actually work through the emotions. So where we'll actually get to the core of like what they're feeling, because oftentimes they have something that brings something up, like they get triggered by something. But what's really underneath is maybe an old pain or an old wound or something from their childhood even that they weren't able to process at that time. And then kind of going deep into that, being able to like feel it and sort of fix it for that child, then allows them to like move on from that and not keep having this sort of Groundhog Day. Sometimes people get in this with relationships or jobs or different things like that, where they just like, I keep attracting the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
And so once you get down into the emotion of like, what is this trying to show you? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you're able to shift it.
Yeah, I had an experience where when my wife passed away, I could not clean out her closets or anything for 4 years. And to tell you the way that the energy works and stuff, it happened for me. We had an electrical fire that we had a power surge come through the breaker box, and it had been shut off because I wasn't at home, and it caused sparks during the drought to catch the short grass around the house. But it was a wood siding house. Caught the house on fire. By the time the fire department got there, the entire structure was gone and everything was gone. So all of that was taken care of for me.
Yes. The universe does have a way of doing that. If we are not dealing with something, it will, this happens for a lot of people with jobs where there's a job that they're meant to leave. They know they're not meant to stay there. It's a toxic environment or whatever. And then they get let go, or the, company moves or something like that. So yeah, the universe does have a way of a cleansing, of pushing us in the direction that we're meant to go.
Yeah. One of the things I was been thinking about when we first started speaking, you said that I know one child was in Minnesota. How many children did you leave back in the States to go to?
Two, yes. I have two boys. They're now 22 and 25. And actually, my oldest son is coming to visit me in a couple days. I'm
Oh,
super
good.
excited. He hasn't been here yet. The other one has been here a couple times already to visit. And I go back. My dad, well, my whole family is there. My dad is 94. And so he is back there, all my sisters, my brother. And so I do tend to go back a couple times a year to visit.
Yeah, to me, that's really, really, really interesting. And it shows the strength of your character, because to leave, your dad and your sons and your sisters and brothers and, to leave your family back there and to go there without knowing anyone or a place to be or anything like that, really is strength of convictions to follow through on what your beliefs are. I mean, we've talked a little bit about how you got there, but was it epiphany just from that handbag in the bottom of that thing to go there?
Yeah, so I feel like the epiphany maybe came a little bit before that, and then the guidance about where I was going. So I actually, I was working with a mentor at that time, and we were on kind of a group call, and she did sort of a meditation about, us checking in to see if we were in what she terms the love territories, and if we were living where we were meant to be living, essentially. And what came in as she asked about that, are you living in your love territory? And I immediately knew it was a no. Like that was kind of my epiphany around that. Like I knew, no, Minnesota is not it. I knew that was not it. And it was then that receiving that package in the mail with the bag that I was like, okay, this is where I'm meant to go. And honestly, so many people are like, mentioned like you do about the courage and all of that. To me, it was just like, I didn't have a choice, because I knew if I stayed in Minnesota, it was just the energy there was very heavy for me, and things were not flowing with my business. Things were not, they were going fine. They were going okay, but it wasn't like, it wasn't easy. Like it was a lot of work. And so I just knew if I stayed there, it was just going to get worse and worse. And so I felt like, the easier path for me was moving to Maui, even though on the surface it seems like it was harder, right?
Yeah, and I say that because I know for some people to make that decision is very difficult. But I think the strength is in your open-mindedness and your mindfulness that you were able to do that. Here's a question for you.
Yeah.
What if it would have said go to Russia?
Ooh. Yeah, that would freak me out a little bit more. I think out of the country would be, And I do have friends that have been called to move to France or different places. Definitely, yes, that would have been a lot bigger stretch for me, for sure.
I was just wondering because, if your strength of conviction would have been as strong to go to out of the country as it would have been, I just chose Russia because it's cold.
Yeah, right. Oh, I know. That's the one thing I'm like, thank you for letting it be Maui. Thank you. Right. It's just, So, I'm so grateful. And honestly, I talked to other friends that have moved here too. And, it's just one thing that I don't think I'm ever going to be like not grateful for living here, because it is so beautiful. It is so amazing. And to be here in the middle of February, to be able to drive down the highway with my arm out the window, and to be able to swim in the ocean year round, like there's so many things that even, if I get in a space where I'm like, oh, dang, I'm spending so much for rent or different things like that. It's like, I live here. Like the beach is like a block and a half. I can walk to the beach from here. So, and this is something actually interesting about Maui too, is that it brings up stuff for you to move through, because we don't have the exterior like things to complain about or to focus on, right? Because it is gorgeous and it is amazing to live here, but then it allows us to really work through our stuff. So some of my friends will say it's like personal development on steroids, living on Maui. because you can't avoid what needs to be seen. Yeah, which is a really cool thing about here.
I think we all have places like that. I mean, for me, it's on top of a hill, because for me, when I was little and went up to the top of that hill and found comfort, out at my ranch, I can climb that hill and look out just like this energy flows out of me. And actually, we're talking about doing a podcast I have a friend that has a TV show in Dallas, and she wants to come down and hike up to the top of this hill.
Nice.
I said, hauling all that equipment up that hill, somebody's going to hate us both.
Oh, right. Oh, my gosh.
It's pretty steep, but it would be it has what we in Texas call 100-mile views. Just forever when we get on the top of that hill. But I take people when I'm working with them in expectation therapy, I tell people to find that place where they can be totally relaxed within themselves, feel safe and comfortable, and they can explore their wants, needs, and desires so they can start identifying them and start gaining what they want out of their life. So that's really important.
Yes, we all need that space, that place.
Yeah. But it's really, really good. Is there anything that you want us to know about you?
Yeah. So I've actually, for people that want to experience the magic of Maui, I have a retreat that I'm planning for November of 2019. I opened it up just less than a month ago, I think, or about a month ago now. It's 1/3 full already. So I do still have some openings for that for people that want to experience Maui. And not just obviously the activities on Maui are amazing, but also actually living aloha. So living aloha is, it's an essence, it's a feeling, it's like how you do your life and living in that space of aloha and welcoming and all of that kind of stuff. So that's a beautiful thing that is happening as well for me coming up for those that want to share with that.
Yeah. Can you send me that? And so I can include it in these show notes?
Yes, so I definitely will do that.
Yeah,
I definitely will do that.
What else is going on in your life?
I am in the process of, I have a group right now I'm running that's a treasure box club. I do that a couple times a year. And I'm doing that. So that is really a fun, amazing Feng Shui adjustment, super powerful for attracting abundance. So doing that. I'm also getting very involved with realtors, which is fun for me because they touch so many people's lives when they're, buying and selling homes is just it's a real emotional thing when people are going through that. And, when homes aren't moving, there's an energy oftentimes that is stuck there. And so what I'm able to do, that's one of the services that I provide is clearing homes. So I'm actually able to clear the home. And I had one gal not too long ago that had a home in New Jersey, was trying to sell it for like 3 years on and off the market, never got one offer, not one single offer. Her husband had committed suicide in the space. Oh. And so energetically, people feel that, right? Like beautiful place, beautiful home, but they come in and there's something that doesn't feel right to them. I cleared it. I did energy work. I was calling the angels. I anchored the space with angels. And literally within 30 days, she had it sold. Wow. So it really, just helping raise the vibration of the planet is part of what I'm up to too.
Oh, that's really great. Where can people get a hold of you?
Yes, I have a website. It's called Finding Your Fiji, and Fiji is FIJI.com. I also have a YouTube channel. It's under my name, Kim Julen. And the YouTube, I offer a lot of free videos, free monthly readings, angel readings for all the zodiac signs. As we're filming this, it's Happy Chinese New Year today as we're filming this. So I do some stuff for Chinese New Year, and I also have Feng Shui videos on there as well.
Oh, that's great. Kim, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. We're going to have to do this again. And anything I can do to help you, you just give me a jingle and I'm here for you.
And same here. I've so enjoyed swirling with you.
Okay. Well, guests, thank you for listening in today. And Heather White, take us away.
Don't know which direction you want your life to take? Are you sinking deep down into the pit of uncertainties day by day? So, what's the secret to leading a happy, satisfied life? It's taking matters into your own hands. But what if the matters in question are a total blur? Art Costello's Expectation Academy course aims to tell you exactly how you can get some clarity in your life. This course can be your savior on your journey to reinventing yourself. While you certainly can't plan your whole future ahead, you can definitely control twists and turns your life takes. So what are you waiting for? Sign up for this course now at expectationacademy.com. Get a chance to broaden your horizons and add meaning to your life. That's expectationacademy.com. Thanks for listening to the show. Drop us your comments and questions with what you want answered on the show. You can subscribe on iTunes and Binge Network. You can also get more information on the website, expectationtherapy.com.